And we are back to talk about what's going on with Marvel. And the latest thing is Daredevil Born Again. Preston, you just watched it. First two episodes. What are your first impressions?
Oh, wow. So I will say that, like, in the middle of the first episode, I texted you and I was like, this is awesome. and I was quite excited in the middle of that first episode. I think since then, I do still think it's great. I do. But I definitely see flaws and cracks that we can get into. But for the most part, I think it's beautifully filmed. I think it's beautifully acted. It's got a compelling story, if not disjointed. But so far, so good. I think it's on track to be a pretty good series. If not, I just have a feeling it's not going to be quite Loki level. But I think it's got potential. It's got real potential to be one of the better ones. What do you think?
Loki season 2 is on another level. I don't think Loki season 2 is like the Andor of the MCU post Endgames, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to really, approach it. But after Loki, what Marvel series really even compares? Like, what goes that high? I mean, the best ones are like Agatha, Wanda, maybe Moon Knight and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like that, that's the next bar, right? And what really approaches, that's nowhere near Loki. So Daredevil has the potential of surpassing all of them. Yeah.
What really kills me about Falcon and the Winter Soldier is all I can remember is that one cringy line from Falcon at the very end of the show where he goes, "You need to do better, Senator. You need to do better." Bro, that doesn't work like that. Yeah, Senator, you need to do better. Come on.
Oh my gosh. And the thing, and this actually gets to Daredevil some, is that Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it wasn't bad, but it was very clear that there was some other plot going on that they re-edited and rewrote the show to be about. Like there was clearly something to do with a virus that they decided to cut out because of COVID and stuff like that. And I feel I can see that something's been done here with Daredevil. I'm
glad you bring that up because it in the original, because they filmed a good chunk of it originally and then they scrapped some of it. And in the original version, Karen and Foggy weren't in it. And then what they did was, I'm assuming they reshot a lot of the first episode. They kept most of what they filmed because if you'll notice, again, Matt Murdock's main love interest is not the night nurse, the woman who plays Ahsoka, nor is it Karen. So what I'm assuming happened was they rewrote the first episode to explain why Karen and Foggy isn't in the rest.
Yes, no, I read the same thing, that it's been bookended, that the beginning and end were tacked on or expanded, and so that first episode is great. I couldn't imagine beginning the show without it. I mean, because when you think of like how fucking intense that opening scene is with Foggy and everything, the fight and how it's funny because it's very nostalgic for the original Daredevil show. It's shot in similar fashion. The fight scenes are in similar fashion. Long uninterrupted fight scenes where people are actually hitting each other. And it's, reminiscent of Hong Kong cinema, where you're actually seeing the punches land on people and you're not cutting away. Like it was a beautifully done shot, beautifully done scene with the Bullseye scene, the whole Bullseye sequence. And then I was quite shocked when he just threw Bullseye off the building. And I was like, whoa, they killed Bullseye. Oh, nope, Bullseye survived. So
a friend of mine who reads the comics, but not Mr. Ness, who, by the way, I want to have him on next week, a buddy of mine was explaining to me, like, who's a big fan of Daredevil and only Daredevil, he only reads Daredevil stuff, is that Bullseye apparently takes a beating every time he appears, to the point where you think he's dead, but, like, he comes back. He's like a cockroach, basically, is what the word he would use.
And I think I also read that he has an adamantium skeleton as well.
Oh, I did watch season 3 where he appears. So basically, his spine gets destroyed in season 3 of Daredevil on Netflix, and then they repair some of it with like an adamantium metal. So, yeah, I guess it's supposed to show that, you know, Matt going as far as to try to kill him is like,
right.
You know,
I mean,
Matt
it's a quite
shocking.
It was a quite shocking scene where he just tosses him off the building and he just goes splat, and I was like, oh, damn.
But you were saying something about the cracks. Was it, or did you mean the CGI? Because the CGI in the very first episode where he's parkouring.
I do not mind the CGI. I mean, there's been enough Marvel movies with weird CGI in the middle it's a TV show. I accept that there's going to be weird CGI. Come on, but I'm not looking for cinematic quality here. No, what I mean is. And this is mainly on the second episode. The second episode, there's a lot of, I would say, tonal shifts where you're having a very calm, intense scene where people are talking. And then all of a sudden the next scene is heart beats fast. Da, 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 da. Oh, Daredevil's doing something. And then the next scene is chill and calm. And it's not paced right. It's not edited right. The shots, the scenes are beautiful. Like there's a scene where it's just very simple where Kingpin and his wife go into couples therapy. And it's just, you know, them on the couch and the shots and the structure of how the scene is set up. And it's beautiful. And then the next scene, it's like close shots of Daredevil on the streets of New York, like listening for things and trying to track down the witness, and it just didn't fit together. It didn't pace together, and I felt like a lot of the second episode was jumbled like that. Each scene by itself was really beautifully shot and acted and really well done, but didn't flow into the next scene. You kind of feel like there's 5 different plots going on and you're not really sure how they all relate yet, you know.
Do you think that's a result of them going back and reshooting a good chunk of stuff, or do you think that's just relegated to the first episode?
I think so. Because when you think about like all the little things going on, okay, we've got Matt Murdock trying to defend the subway guy, and then you've got Matt Murdock's dating life, and then you have the Kingpin dealing with the politics of the police officers. And then you have the Kingpin dealing with his wife, and you have the Kingpin dealing with his new hire and like the media. And
oh, by the way, that young kid that was like really optimistic. You know who that is, right?
No.
That's James Gandolfini's son.
James Gandolfini. Explain who that is.
That's James Gandolfini's son, like the kid.
Who's James Gandolfini?
He played Tony Soprano.
Oh, okay.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that, but I guess it all falls. I don't know.
No, he kind of looks like his dad a little bit.
Oh,
He played his dad in the Many Saints of Newark prequel. But hold on, let me give you a picture of him real quick because do you see him?
Yeah.
Also, I also need to show you this because this is something they only do it in the first episode. I haven't seen it so far in the second, maybe a little bit in the second. I'm jumping ahead too far here, but I'm waiting for you to bring it up because
well, definitely in that first episode, and they're walking a little back from it in the second episode, probably because the middle portion was filmed earlier. But obviously, like the huge Trump Kingpin parallel.
Instead of a red hat, it's a blue hat. Fisk fix it.
You know, like in that first episode, like the amount of Daredevil and everyone around him are feeling all of this like, you know, liberal dread and hopelessness with the election of Fisk, who, you know, is what an ex-mobster who's done a lot of illegal, you know, a New Yorker who's done a lot of illegal activity, who is trying to get into office, maybe for self-enrichment, but maybe to kind of like rewrite their history or something, history of their life kind of aspect. I mean, they make some parallels like that. The thing is like Kingpin is a much smarter and calculating sense. And even I would say stable character than Trump. So it's like,
I mean,
it doesn't quite work. But
Kingpin's taking his wife to therapy at least.
Yeah, I mean, like
fix that relationship.
It's gotta fix that relationship, right? You know, he actually has like Fisk, like Kingpin, as crazy as he is, you actually feel like he does feel like love and emotion and things like that. He's not psychotic. He's not completely psychotic, you know.
To anybody saying like, "Why are you guys making it political?" It's entire premise of the show. It's over your face.
It's in your like this isn't subtle. This is pretty. In fact, I've read some criticism that like, did they have to be so heavy-handed with the Kingpin Trump parallels? And I was like, when they're not, people miss it. You know, like, because I think I still see people claiming that it's not there. Like, you just see it everywhere, and it's like, no, it's so over the top. Especially, I mean, the hats is the thing that like clinches it all. But if it weren't for the hats, maybe there'd be some plausible deniability. But the hats are so fucking obvious.
The hats are like, I wonder, because you only see the hat. So there's only 2 episodes so far. We only seen the hats in the first episode, but I wonder if the hats will make an appearance in any more episodes. And that was just like one of the things.
Maybe
the
last episode, if the first and the last had reshoots.
I'm sorry, but yeah, no, so far I love Vincent D'Onofrio. He's on his game.
Yeah, of course.
People keep saying like,
Thor,
oh, such
man.
a gap.
He's the original Thor.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
You have to see Adventures in Babysitting, man. Adventures in Babysitting. So in when he was a young man, he was in a movie called Adventures in Babysitting, where Elizabeth Shue...
He has an actual hammer.
Well, he's just a mechanic. And for some reason, one of the girls that Elizabeth Shue is babysitting is obsessed with Thor. And keep in mind, when this movie came out, Thor was still a fucking B-level superhero, okay? This is pre-Avengers days, right? Thor is a nobody. So it's really random that, like, this little girl is obsessed with Thor. And then she goes and they find this mechanic, and the mechanic like has this like long blonde hair and has a hammer, and she's like, Thor! and so he helps her in the end, but it's like so funny. It's a really fun movie. I mean, there's certain parts that don't age well. Like, you know, it's one of those movies from the 80s where people are calling each other like gay and homo as insults and stuff, and like it's just considered normal. But it's a pretty funny movie. Like overall, I definitely recommend Adventures in Babysitting. The film that blew up Elizabeth Shue.
We got off track. Anyway. I keep seeing people criticizing the character of Wilson Fisk in this iteration because he's like slower and he's more softer. People keep forgetting that he had like an existential crisis in Echo. That's why he was gone for a while now, because she psychically attacked him.
I do like the lampshade of Echo. It's like, he's like, do you have any kids? He's like, no, I mentored someone once. And he's like, didn't she shoot you in the face?
That whole diner conversation is basically like them. It's kind of like almost a meta scene of them catching us up and like, yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. Almost like talking to the audience. Like, you know, the characters are back. They're here. They're played by the same people. You guys can relax now. Because there was a really big conversation a while back around the time of No Way Home where we didn't know if like all of the actors from the Netflix show was coming back. But nope, they're all here now. Yeah. So this is that series.
By the way, don't you think with the show, it's kind of funny how like even though it's New York City, it feels like there's only 12 people in the city and they all fucking know each other. like really by chance, Kingpin decides to use Daredevil's girlfriend as his therapist?
I mean, I think that's a calculated move on his end.
But weren't they trying to ignore each other?
Yeah, just like I think the scene before that where we saw Kingpin threaten the commissioner. I think that's Kingpin doing his usual bullshit.
Okay,
just in case, setting it up just in case Matt Murdock goes off the rails. Like he has that connection.
He wants to get all that first-hand information on her. Well, we'll see. We'll see if it's not a coincidence if Ford planned it all kind of thing.
Ford planned it all.
I don't know, like for people that haven't been listening to my channel for a long time, like Carmine and I have this joke of Ford planned it all, because back when we watched Westworld, anything that didn't fit in the plot or seemed weird, like was somehow part of Ford, like the character of Ford's master plan, and that he planned it all. So it's just like anything that doesn't make sense, you just go, no, Ford planned it all.
Yeah,
like Ford planned it all.
By the way, you mentioned the therapist, Daredevil's love interest for this season. I'm actually quite taken aback, not in a bad way, that his love interest is actually an older woman. The actress is 45 years old. So normally they usually pair up the main character with like someone in their mid-20s, someone who's like supermodel hot, kind of like Deborah Ann Wolfe. But no, this woman, she is fairly older. I'm always taken aback by that. It's something I saw in Silo. In Silo, I don't know if you're watching that, it's on Apple Plus. There was, in season 1, there was a relationship between two older people. Again, you don't really see that often. Right. They're usually like married and, it's no romance is happening, but props to them for doing that. That caught me off guard.
I mean, Charlie Cox himself is only 42.
Is he actually? Holy shit, he's not.
Yeah.
Oh my god. When did he start doing Daredevil? When he was like 30? Holy fuck, how long has it been?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like his romances, because he romances with Karen, right?
And yes. Then... You and Ness told me how in the comics Daredevil is a whore. Like he goes out.
Oh yeah. And I think Karen in the comics I think spent some time working as a porn actress or something.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
But you guys told me like he's been with Black Widow and of course She-Hulk, which we did see he was with. Yeah. So I mean, again,
I mean the joke about Daredevil is that he is constantly sleeping with, like, first of all, he's sleeping with all these attractive women, which doesn't matter because he's blind. Like it's kind of wasted. But like, but. He's just a man whore. He sleeps with everybody. So like the scene where he hooks up with She-Hulk is quite on in character for him. Which that was a funny episode. But I quite liked She-Hulk, and everybody else does it.
I'll tell you why I wasn't a big fan of She-Hulk that much. And it's not even the ending, which I wasn't a big fan of the last episode. I was expecting She-Hulk, because this was a lawyer show where she's supposed to handle superhuman clients. And she doesn't really do that as much. Yes, they were there, but...
Like the immortal guy that keeps killing himself to get out of marriages?
Right, like that was a cool one. I wanted to see like every episode be like a client of the week, if you will, where they're like super powered or whatever the fuck, and she has to defend them and use some legalese. But it would mostly focused on her dating life and her interpersonal relationships and how she handles turning into a giant green monster whenever she gets upset. I didn't care about that stuff as much as I cared about seeing the legalese side of all these superhuman people, which hopefully we might see in this, because Matt in the second episode is representing White Tiger. I had to look up who White Tiger is. He's actually a real hero, street level hero, where he puts on an amulet that gives him superhuman powers and also super cool karate moves. So I didn't know that was a real thing.
The actor that plays White Tiger in Daredevil. When I was young, I used to watch a soap opera called One Life to Live, and the actor Camar de los Reyes, like he played this character Christian Vega. And so it's like I'm very familiar with the guy. I'm like, oh, it's wait, actually, was it Christian or was it his older brother? I have to.
It says here Antonio Vega.
Antonio, it's his older brother, Antonio Vega. But it's amazing actually how many actors come from One Life to Live. The one of the characters from Hamilton, she was on it. Nathan Fillion comes from One Life to Live. All sorts of things. So it's funny. It's funny seeing him. I'm like, oh, he's here, Antonio Vega.
I'm surprised you used to watch One Life to Live, like these soap operas.
It was just that one. So the nice thing about soap operas, and One Life to Live was a very action-oriented soap opera. It was very good. And what's interesting about soap operas is they're very well written in that you can watch every day and they're not boring, or you can watch once a week and that's fine, or you can watch like once a month. And it doesn't matter. You can still keep up with the story because they're always the plot moves slow enough, but they're always referencing the plot too, like and bringing you back up to speed. And so it was quite ingenious that they were able to write stories like that, where you could watch every day or you can not watch every day, and it's fine. You can miss episodes and it's completely fine. It's really genius writing for soap operas. I mean, they're all gone now, but yeah. So One Life to Live, yeah, it was a good one. Good one.
But in regards to Daredevil representing this guy, again, like I hope that Daredevil will do what She-Hulk could not, which is because I saw rumors online that reviewers who have seen a good chunk of the season ahead of time say that every episode is like a character or a problem or a case of the week. Again, I wouldn't mind that. But I want to see more legalese stuff happening here in regards to superheroes, because again, that's not something we see all the time. And maybe I'm alone in this, but your
favorite scene, not all of the fighting, but your favorite scene was the scene where Matt Murdock and the prosecutor are in the office with the judge, and they're talking about whether or not the character being White Tiger was admissible evidence.
I would say it's my favorite scene, but yeah, I actually like stuff like that. I like Law and Order. I like SVU. I like all that stuff. So maybe it's just me. I like courtroom stuff, and adding the superhero element in there and how like we could actually see that take place in real life. One of my favorite books of all time is World War Z, because I actually really like the logistical aspect of how we as a people would realistically handle the zombie apocalypse. And World War Z really does that. You have that whole section where the Battle of Brooklyn, where you have zombies like coming at an actual military, and guys are shooting at the zombies and shooting them in the head and missing the brain and being completely freaked out, and morale is dropping because they seem unstoppable, invincible, stuff like that. Like, I love like real take how we as a people would actually handle these situations of the supernatural if they were real. And hopefully we can see that going forward. But that ending fight scene with the cops, that was great. Holy shit. I didn't expect it to be that brutal. Holy fuck. Because it's on Disney Plus, and he's breaking the cops' bones. And
no, I mean, it's funny. It's funny thinking about all of these characters and their history and how they kind of all interrelate. Like, the fact that She-Hulk she's not Deadpool, but She-Hulk is the second iteration. Like, she is the lead up to Deadpool. Like, there would be no Deadpool if it wasn't for She-Hulk, and there'd be no She-Hulk if it wasn't for Howard the Duck, right? And you hear about these characters. It's not like Howard the Duck. He appears in the Guardians movies, and he's in some What If episodes, right? And then She-Hulk is there, and then there's Daredevil, and then there's fuck, I just had it. Deadpool. And like, Deadpool is She-Hulk. Like, he's just the same fucking character, right? but then they've combined him with Daredevil, right? They essentially took Daredevil, gave him pretty much the same fucking costume, and then gave him She-Hulk's abilities, and that's the fucking character, and everybody fucking loves him, right?
Yeah.
But She-Hulk by herself, Daredevil by himself, but you know, that's all he is. He's She-Hulk plus Daredevil is Deadpool. And,
by the way, in regards to them throwing Marvel characters in here, because I'm fully expecting like Punisher to show up, and I'm hoping Spider-Man shows up, because Spider-Man did get a mention by Fisk on TV.
He did. I don't know. I mean, you know how these rights are and everything with Spider-Man. So I don't know.
True. I'm wondering if more of a Daredevil's Rogues Gallery are going to show up, because I was actually surprised. Isn't Bullseye kind of like his Joker, like his main arch nemesis?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I'm surprised they did Bullseye.
Besides Kingpin himself, right?
Right. I'm surprised they did Bullseye like off the bat immediately, like straight into it, which in today's society, I think that's the best move, because everyone has the attention span of a fucking mosquito. So you kind of want to get like
the Kingpin Rogues Gallery is actually a big. There's actually all sorts of like rights and ownership issues with it, like because Kingpin was actually an original Spider-Man villain. And so he should have been owned by Sony, but because he appeared in Daredevil comics enough, that now you think of Kingpin as the Daredevil villain, even though he was originally a Spider-Man villain. And so when the original Daredevil movie came out with Ben Affleck, you would have thought that they couldn't use Kingpin, but they did, you know, or at least they did, and no one noticed, and they didn't get sued or something. But it's funny. It's funny, these little things, you know, because Daredevil was a what studio company was that? That was
Fox.
Fox.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's
Fox
20th Century Fox. Yeah, it was 20th Century Fox. Yeah.
Well, remember, I think Disney bought out Fox, so they have it all now.
It's all fine now, yeah. But at that time, Fox owned Fantastic Four, Daredevil, and X-Men, right? Yeah.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So.
I want to see more street level heroes show up. I wouldn't mind seeing Jessica Jones show up, or
Jessica
Luke Cage.
Jones, man.
I feel
What's
bad.
Kristen Ritter doing? We need Kristen Ritter. Kristen Ritter is so fucking good.
She ain't doing much. Who's the guy who played Iron Fist? Let me see. I know he was Loris Tyrell, but what's this one? Finn Jones. I feel bad saying this, but man, Iron Fist was not it. They need to reboot the fuck out. Iron Fist seasons 1 and 2.
Well, they say
boring.
Iron Fist. I mean, I didn't get through Iron Fist. That's the thing. I think people kind of said Daredevil's good. Jessica Jones season 1 was really good, you know, and then Luke Cage was like, yeah.
Jessica Jones season 1 was fine. It suffered from way too many episodes. This was the problem with Netflix back in the day, the Netflix bloat. It was a 3-hour story that they tried to cram into a 10-hour television show. Not a good idea.
Yeah. But
that was the problem with Luke Cage.
It worked with Jessica Jones because it was a character. It was a character piece, and you had Doctor Who in it, and he was really fucking good too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Kristen Ritter and Doctor Who were fucking great, and then you kind of moved on to like Luke Cage was like, nah. And I think Luke Cage suffered because if I remember, the villain was really compelling. And then they kill off the villain halfway through, and they introduce a much more boring villain, and I stopped watching.
The villain was initially Diamondback, Marshall Ali, and I think I forgot the woman's name, but she's a phenomenal actress. Oh fuck, I forgot her name. But I thought she was fine. It's just she couldn't hold it all on her own, and it's just
right.
And then Bushmaster came in.
I remember the first half of Luke Cage was incredible, and then the minute they killed off Diamondback, the show, it was just like, why am I fucking watching this? This is dreadful. It's like, and then people didn't like Iron Fist and they didn't like Defenders, right? I didn't even watch Defenders.
I tried giving Defenders a shot, and it's not good. The problem with them again with the Netflix Marvel stuff is that Daredevil seemed to like have all the good characters, all the good storylines.
Yeah.
And these other guys, they just had way too many episodes for the material they were given.
People,
a lot of
people
filler.
I think people liked Punisher, but I forgot.
People liked Punisher, but mostly because the main actor, he holds it all. By the way, on the topic of Punisher, did you watch We Own This City?
No.
So We Own This City is basically like a spiritual successor to The Wire. And John Bernthal is in it as Sergeant Wayne Jenkins. It takes place in Baltimore about how these plainclothes division unit would go in and rob drug dealers.
Here's the thing about John Bernthal. I think he's incredible. I do. And I think he saves the Punisher character. I think the Punisher character is a shit character in the comic book. I never liked the Punisher. I don't think he's a good character. And the reason is that he is supposed to be despicable and you're supposed to hate him, but then they keep casting him as the fucking protagonist. And you're like, no, he's supposed to be a fascist dick asshole. He's supposed to be the anti-Spider-Man, right? Because he's a Spider-Man villain, right? So like,
I thought he was supposed to be an anti-hero.
Well, he eventually, because he was so popular, he's this villain, right? He's this vigilante villain who like, if you actually like go and look at the text that he speaks, he's a racist, he's a fascist, he's all sorts of things, okay? He was a Spider-Man villain. Then eventually they started giving him his own comic book because he looked cool and he sold, and people, it went over people's heads that he was a fucking fascist. You know, much like it goes over people's heads that Rorschach is a fucking fascist in Watchmen, right? And so the John Bernthal's portrayal of Punisher in the show is much more simple. First of all, they tone back all of the fucking fascist shit. And then he's so much more sympathetic and so much more emotional and human than the fucking, you know, closed off, you know, comic book character of Punisher. So it, you know, I think his on-screen performance of Punisher is just a vastly superior character to comic book Punisher.
I'm wondering if they're going to try to reclaim that whole thing about the character, because even in real life, cops are like using the Punisher logo, and even the cops at the end of episode 2 had it. I doubt Matt could noticed it because he's blind, but I wonder if they're gonna try with the Disney Plus stuff going forward to have Punisher kind of reclaim that symbol, or maybe like just try to get rid of it, or I don't know, maybe try to, I don't know, I mean, shift it a little bit.
It's either that they either do that, or they make it very clear that this person isn't a fucking hero. You know, it's kind of like Homelander or something. Like, we've got to make it really fucking clear that no one is going to think that this guy should be admired, you know? They go all in, make him super, super evil. But
No worry. I mean, like, yeah. So, what'd you think of the first 2 episodes? I quite enjoyed them. I didn't like the CGI.
Quite enjoyed them.
In the first fight scene. I keep forgetting that Daredevil is basically the Marvel's version of Batman, where he uses gadgets to do that. They didn't do that as much in the Netflix show, I'm assuming because the budget was a little lower. Now with Disney's infamous budget, they can do all this stuff. I would argue that they should not use his gadgets to like have him parkour up buildings like Batman, because that did feel a little off. I actually thought Daredevil...
I thought it was fine.
You thought it was fine?
I mean, you know, like... I thought it was fine. I didn't mind it so much. I mean, like the scenes where like Bullseye is just throwing shit and they're all magically like flying into Daredevil and his chest is filled with throwing stars or whatever. I was fine. I was fine with that because like I understand that like Bullseye is a fucking magical character, you know,
impossible to kill, motherfucker. But like, though I will say one of the coolest interpretations of Daredevil I see was that brief cameo he had in Echo, where when she's like kicked to the ground and as she's getting up, he's like he comes down in the background. You can see him there.
That was a great fight scene.
It was a great fight scene.
That was like one of the best parts of Echo. I mean, Echo Echo had some problems. It did.
Poor Echo. They relegated her to like the Hulu, and we thought like, oh, we're probably gonna get more Marvel stuff in Hulu. So far, it's the only thing on Hulu. So far, they just put it on there just because.
They put it on Hulu, really? Ooh.
It was on Hulu. Yeah, you don't remember?
No,
it was not on Disney Plus. It was Hulu only. So, but
wow.
no.
How did I see it? I didn't. I don't have a Hulu.
How did you see it? I don't know. But so far, yes, I quite like it. A good start, and I'm willing to see more. Of course, people are going to complain because, of course, they are. It's Disney, so they're looking for any reason to complain. But no, I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You might not like this one criticism I'm throwing in here, but I hope they tone down like the Trump parallels shit, because I don't care about Hollywood virtue signaling how much they like or dislike Trump. I really don't care. I just don't care. It's been 8 years. Everyone I know has already made their position on Trump like solid. I don't give a fuck about Hollywood's position on Trump, and I don't need them to
I
parallel.
don't think the allegory can go anywhere. Like, okay, you make this allegory that Kingpin is Trump. Okay, this criminal that rises to power. Okay, and then we find out that his foil is a vigilante. What is that telling us, the audience, that we need to fucking become vigilantes?
I will not
to like fight Trump.
I'm telling you right now. Do not mention the L name, because I know for a fact YouTube is cracking down. I'll type it here for you, but don't mention this fucking guy because he's still in the news, and you know. Yeah. So what is that telling us?
Right,
I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
What is it telling us?
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. He's yeah. That's a spicy meatball. You don't want me to talk about the spicy meatball?
No, I do not. Leave that guy for now. Well, let's wait a bit. Next time, I want to get Mr. Ness in here, and we'll talk about some of the Marvel stuff going down. Fantastic Four. The Avengers Doomsday was some concept art was leaked that I thought was super cool. Real quick, because you mentioned Falcon and Soldier earlier, did you even watch Brave New World?
I have not seen it yet. No,
you're not missing much.
Yeah, people said it was fine. It was nothing super special.
It was very mediocre.
I'm a little more excited about Thunderbolts, but I think it just has more. It has I don't know, more likable characters that people are really interested in. I mean, who would you rather watch? The Winter Soldier kick a bunch of people's butts, or Falcon kick a bunch of people's butts?
Winter Soldier, because he's attached to one of the best Marvel films ever, which is Captain America, Winter Soldier. So, and
but he also has he has more drama and things like that, and
right. Anthony Mackie,
he's more unstable.
Anthony Mackie is a very fine character, but to handle his own movie, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But yeah, is there anything else we want to talk about and say in regards to Daredevil Born Again? I quite enjoyed it. I can't wait for the next episode.
It was. I think we'd both recommend that people check it out. It's surprising, it's shocking, it's well acted. It's got a lot of odd political allegory that we're not sure where they're going with it, if anywhere. And everyone seems to know each other. It's the smallest New York City of all time,
I agree. Preston, do you mind if we wrap it up here?
Sounds good.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we'll see you next time. Have a good one.